Life is good when your prisoner of war camp is run by the Monopoly guy. This is Grand Illusion.
Hey! Welcome to Seen and Heard. This is the podcast where two entertainment assistants go through the Sight and Sound Top 100 Greatest Films of All Time list. I'm Greg.
I'm Jackie.
Whoa, I'm choking on a...
Are you okay?
I had a chocolate-covered nut earlier.
And you're just now choking on it?
Yeah. Because you know, like when you eat one of those and it like stays with you, like You'll be coughing like 30 minutes later.
I can't say that's ever happened to me, no.
They're like the trickiest too, because they're so good. So you just like eat them and eat them and eat them, and then you're like stuck. Coughing and yeah. Anyway, hi Jackie.
Hi.
We are here today to talk about our actually third Jean Renoir film.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah, because we did do Rules of the Game and Day in the Country.
Yes.
It's our third Renoir.
Yeah, Grand Illusion.
Which makes him, I think he's tied for Bergman, because I think we've also done 3 Bergman films. Seven Seal, Fanny and Alexander, and Persona.
And we've only done 2 Godards.
It's too many. Yes.
So, yeah, you're right. 3.
3. Yeah. What about Powell Pressburger? I think we've done 2 Powell Pressburgers. Yeah, so 3 for Renoir. So he's tied with Bergman for our most covered filmmaker.
Interesting.
We're doing Grand Illusion this week. But
awesome.
As we always do.
Wait.
Oh, the number. Do you know what number this is on the list?
This is number 73 on the 2012 list. So we're back at the bottom of the list this week. However, on the newly minted 2022 list, it's number 146. So it's no longer in the top 100.
Wow, got bumped off.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I know.
We're seeing a lot of these. It's been a trend. A lot of these like really, really revered like textbook films getting bumped from the top 100.
Yeah.
Oh, guess we'll talk about that in a bit. Until then, before then, what have you been watching, Jackie? That's not Grand Illusion.
So since we did In the Mood for Love last week, I really wanted to watch The Hand. So I did. So The Hand is a short by Wong Kar-wai. It's like an hour. And it was part of this anthology movie called Eros, which also includes a short film by Steven Soderbergh and by Antonioni. So this is Wong Kar-wai's short in this. I didn't watch the whole movie because I didn't see it anywhere. Like, The Hand was just on its own.
On the Criterion set, right?
I didn't even watch it on the set. I watched it on the channel. Is
it
on the set?
I think it's on the set, yeah.
Anyway, it's really good because it combines 2 things I love from In the Mood for Love: hands and clothing. It's all about hands and all about those dresses, and it's sumptuous. It's if you like Wong Kar-wai, it's kind of like it's like raunchier than In the Mood for Love. But then again, like 2046 is even, I mean, no, never mind.
Fallen Angels is pretty raunchy.
Yeah. But it's good if you like the Wong Kar-wai style. I think you'll like it. I saw oh my God, I forgot to write it down. I saw The Conformist for the first time at the American Cinematheque, and it's really good. And it's really beautiful. Like, it's one of the best looking movies I've ever seen in my life, which a lot of people say about it. And now I know why. It's really interesting because it's like, I think it came out in 70, right?
Something like that, right around there.
But like, it is that classic, like, gray 70s protagoist, but like done in an Italian way. And it's
I haven't seen it
really
yet.
good. I saw Titanic.
What's that?
It's this big boat. I saw Titanic with you and Molly. I'd never seen it on the big screen, and it was so fun. Like, really, really electric, just seeing it with a crowd of people. And we don't get that. We don't get like worldwide phenomena anymore. And
well, we do. It's just a different type of movie, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, but even the types of movies today that are considered that, they're still only seen by like a group of people. Like Titanic is like for all. Like that really genre movie, not genre, that really like high concept movie that is just literally for everyone. Because like Marvel movies aren't for everyone. But like Titanic so purely is that.
Well, it's the historical epic. It's
and then we saw a little boy. Like there was this little boy in the crowd. And it was his first time, and he was talking the whole time, like asking his mom questions, his mom answering. It was cute, whatever. And that was so nice to see. And then I did see Love Stream, the Cassavetes movie.
Love Streams, yeah.
Oh, is it Streams?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought it was singular.
How dare you?
But I suppose, it's not a stream. It's the verb of stream.
Uh-huh.
And I really, really liked it. I liked it because, as I was telling you before, the characters are so sad and so broken, but it really is like, it's one of his lighter movies. There isn't this like heavy despair through it that a lot of his other movies have. And I just love that it's them two together, Cassavetes and Jenna Rowlands. And it seems like they had a lot of fun making it. And yeah, I
think it's pretty tonally ambitious.
Yeah.
Especially for him.
I think so too. But that's what I've been watching.
Cool.
What have you been watching?
Well, aside from seeing Titanic with you, honestly, in the car on the way home, I was like in such a weird mood. Like I wanted to start crying because I felt so bad for us now. Like, because look, Titanic has its issues, and like the dialogue isn't great. It's a little like you feel James Cameron getting off on some of the disaster stuff, like a little too much, especially when there's like sparks behind them in slow motion, or like Billy Zane has the gun.
Anytime Billy Zane is on screen,
yeah,
it's like pretty ridiculous.
He's great in it, but in a ridiculous way. But like still, we don't get that kind of scale big Hollywood movie anymore with that level of integrity, because now that's only superhero stuff. And it made me really, really sad. I
felt the same.
Yeah. It's just like, that's such an absorbing movie.
I love it.
It's so well done. Mm-hmm. Like, it just made me really sad.
Me too. I listened to My Heart Will Go On all the way home, like on repeat. Because I just didn't want to leave. Like, I didn't want to leave that environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know how you feel.
I also saw The Remains of the Day.
Oh.
The Merchant Ivory film, which is great, which is so good.
Was it really good?
Yeah, it's really good with Anthony Hopkins and Emma Thompson. Yeah. I saw Comanche Station, which is a Western by Bud Bedecker. This sort of famous cycle he did of Westerns from the late 50s through the early 60s called the Ranone cycle, where they all starred Randolph Scott. Mm-hmm. And I watched all 5 of them, and honestly, I don't really like them.
So
I don't
why
really
did
like
you
them.
watch all 5?
Because I wanted to. I think there's actually 6 in the cycle, so I didn't even watch all 6. But like, because they're renowned for being this bridge between the old-fashioned Hollywood Western and the more aggressive sort of spaghetti Westerns of the 60s.
Interesting. But
I didn't really see a bridge at all. I just saw some really stagey, kind of sloppy movies. And I had a conversation with my friend Felicia about this because she commented on my Letterboxd entry for the last movie, which I was a little bitchy, like in my review. And she was like, "Oh, I like appreciate these as like the kind of like cozy Sunday afternoon movies that they are." And I was like, I totally get that. And if I just like seen it on TCM on one sleepy afternoon, I would have been like, "Oh, that's cute." But I think because their reputation is like, these are formative Westerns. I'm like, no, like the Western was already up and running like 20 years before this. You had John Ford and Howard Hawks and stuff doing really cool things in the Western space. So I'm not a fan of the Bud Bedecker Westerns. I saw a short film called Ice Merchants, which is actually up for the Oscar this year for Best Animated Short. It's on YouTube, 15 minutes. Beautiful. Father-son, sort of wordless, poetic short about these ice merchants that live on this house on the hill. Beautifully animated.
It's animated.
It's animated. I'm really jealous because the guy, his name is João Gonzalez. The guy who wrote and directed it also did the music, and the music is like incredible.
Wow.
And he's like 26 years old.
Wow.
So I was like, God damn it. I highly recommend that. And then Molly and I continued our Star Trek journey. We just did Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, which, judging by her reaction to the movie, was probably her favorite so far.
Wow.
Because it's a comedy. It's a silly fish out of water. They go back to 1980s San Francisco because they need to save the whales. And it's a delightful, breezy, good time. And it's honestly hilarious, like, because they're playing it so straight. But, like, because it's a comedy. It's a comedy. That's what I like about the Star Trek movies. Each movie can kind of do something different. Mm-hmm. And it's like it's a fan favorite. And I feel like that one, even non-Star Trek fans like The Voyage Home. But yeah, it was great to revisit that.
Nice.
So anyway, without further ado, let's just get into this week's film.
Let's do it.
From 1937, this is Jean Renoir's Grand Illusion.
Grand Illusion was released in 1937. It was directed by Jean Renoir, co-written by Renoir and Charles Spack. Cinematography by Christian Matras, music by Joseph Cosma. During World War I, French officers Captain de Boldu and Lieutenant Marechal are shot down by a German plane and taken to a prisoner of war camp. There, they meet their colorful roommates, all French officers, who are digging a tunnel to escape the camp. The camp is pretty laid back, and they enjoy the fine provisions their rich roommate, Rosenthal, has sent for him from Paris. On the eve of their planned escape, it is announced that all the residents will be transferred to different camps. De Boldu and Marechal, along with Rosenthal, are moved to a camp that is headed by the German officer who shot them down in the first place, Rauffenstein. Rauffenstein and de Boldu get along great as they are both aristocrats and career soldiers. Eventually, the group plans their escape and de Boldu elects to cause a distraction so Marechal and Rosenthal can escape. Even though he is greatly sympathetic towards de Boldu and aims for the legs, Rauffenstein kills him during the escape. Marechal and Rosenthal slowly make their way towards Switzerland. However, they find refuge with a widow, Elsa, who gives them food and shelter. Marechal and Elsa fall in love, but once they've gained their strength, he and Rosenthal continue their journey so they can return to their posts and hopefully end the war. The film stars Jean Gabin as Marechal, Pierre Fresnay as de Boldu, Erich von Stroheim as Rauffenstein, Marcel Dalio as Rosenthal, and Dita Parlo as Elsa. You might remember Dita Parlo from La Talente, a little movie that we did.
And you might remember Erich von Stroheim as the director of Greed, a little film we did.
Yes. And also from Sunset. Oh, we haven't done Sunset
We haven't,
Boulevard
no.
yet. Another person from La Talente, did you recognize?
No.
So the guy who plays the husband, Jean Dasté, is the former school teacher soldier guy. You didn't recognize him?
No.
I saw him. I'm like, this guy looks so familiar.
Oh, no. I kind of put La Talente out of my head.
That's so weird. The more I think about La Talente, the more I love it.
Good.
I wish you liked it.
I don't dislike it. I'm just lukewarm.
Wow. So Joseph Goebbels, who was the head of propaganda in Nazi Germany, declared Grand Illusion as cinematic public enemy number 1. So this movie came out in 1937. But during World War II, the French government banned the film because they feared it would lower morale to fight the Germans. And then when the Nazis invaded France, they confiscated the prints. So the film was re-released in the 60s when a few prints were found, but the original was thought to be destroyed. In actuality, though, it was shipped to Berlin, and then luckily enough was found and shipped back to France during the Allied occupation, but they didn't know what it was, and it just sat in storage for 30 years before they discovered it, and then they found the original print, which is so funny.
Like so much of Renoir's stuff.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
the film's original ending was going to feature Rosenthal and Maréchal making a pact that at the end of the war, they would meet at Maxime's restaurant if they were both still alive, and the film would end with 2 empty chairs at an empty table, a la Les Mis.
Empty chairs and empty tables.
What do you think about that ending?
That's yeah. I actually kind of love that.
Do you?
Yeah.
I like it too. I think I'd be cool with that. But then I think it distracts from the main point of the movie. Well, we can talk about it. We'll talk about it. Let's get through specs. Erich von Stroheim, despite being born in Austria and emigrating to the US when he was 24, had trouble speaking German for the part.
He was actually born with a monocle. Like he came out of his mother's womb and he had a monocle attached.
Exteriors of Wintersborn, which is the second camp they go to.
The castle.
It was shot at a castle in Alsace in France, which I've always wanted to go to. Do you know where Alsace is? It's like in the north. It borders like Germany. So it's kind of like, it kind of looks like Germany, but it's like a fairy tale town.
Oh.
Like river running through cottages. Like it is really, really cute. Other exteriors were shot at actual barracks in France. The film was nominated for Best Picture in 1939 and nominated for the Mussolini Cup at the Venice Film Festival. What an honor.
Boy.
Initial thoughts?
Yeah. So this one loomed large. I had never seen it before. And again, this is one of those like textbook movies you always hear about of like Grand Illusion. And like, so I'd been meaning to see it for a long time, and I knew it was kind of like a prison escape type of thing.
Yeah.
Which I'm always drawn to. Uh-huh. And yeah, I liked this. I like this. So our history with Renoir, actually the 3 Renoirs we've done for this show are the only 3 that I've seen. So we did Rules of the Game, which I like, but it doesn't speak to me like personally, and I don't think about Rules of the Game. And then we did Day in the Country, which is actually my favorite. And I really liked, we had a little bit of a split on that one. Uh-huh. And then this one, my third. So I think I still like Day in the Country the best. I can see, I'm like not looking at you right now because I can feel the daggers that you're shooting me. Uh-huh. But no, I liked this. I liked this a considerable amount. It didn't make me rush to the rooftops and sing its praises and like yodel down the valley, but like
in Switzerland.
Yeah, in Switzerland. But like I liked it. It was good. And I think it took a really interesting approach in the fact that it's generally like a pretty nice movie. Like
so nice.
The Germans are not these like terrible oppressive people. At least like the von Stroheim character is like so sympathetic, and you can tell that he's completely over the war and he's just doing his duty until it ends. And again, that scene, we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, I liked it. I liked the different approach it took. It's not a prison escape movie, and the fact that the escape is not a big showcase. It's not like a big set piece really. No. And it's not about the details. It's literally like they're digging a hole in the first camp. Yeah. They're like, okay, they're going to go through this tunnel. Yeah. And then they're like, nope, you guys are changing camps like the day that they're about to break out. And then they go to this castle, which is a way cooler prison. Mm-hmm. And then it literally comes to them making some rope and just going like descending down the rope off the side of the castle.
But of course, there's so much more to it.
There's a distraction with the flutes and the but still, I feel like in the way that you think about the great prison escape movies, like The Great Escape or Escape from Alcatraz or something, or even the Bresson film, A Man Escaped, they all have escape in the title, I just realized. Those are so much about the planning and the plotting, every little detail of the escape. And the escape here is not the point.
No.
Which threw me, but in a good way, because I was expecting a more sort of traditional like prison escape type movie. But yeah, I liked, again, I think the stuff with von Stroheim was the peak of it for me in terms of his character. It's just fascinating. And yeah, I liked it. I liked the note it ended on, although I can't help but think about that empty chairs, empty tables
right
ending, which I think would have been a nice little button at the end, because it is generally pleasant. Like most of the film, no one's really being too mean to each other. So it would have been a nice little button at the end. I think a nice little melancholic thing. But I like the ending of this.
Do you know about Maxime's?
No.
So Maxime's is featured prominently in Gigi.
We were just talking about Gigi.
Yeah, which is funny, right? We were just talking about it. He the main guy in Gigi goes to Maxime's all the time and takes her to Maxime's when she's coming out, and it's so
it's a real place.
I've heard Maxime so much because I've seen that movie so much. It's real. It's still open.
Okay, still open, yeah.
So it was nice to hear about it in this movie.
Yeah.
But it's my dream to go there. It's obviously not as nice now as it was back then, but it really ended with its glory ended with World War I, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's been going downhill for 100 years.
So, yeah. I mean, I don't know about that.
Now it's just a McDonald's.
But now it's probably just really touristy.
Right. Yeah, because even in the film, and this takes place in World War I, they're talking some people don't like Maxine. It's oh yeah, you could go there, if you want.
Yeah, I know.
You're not missing much.
Yeah, it's like in Midnight in Paris, when they go back in time, when it's can, that's Maxime. It's Belle Époque and that time, which ended with World War I. But yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
I really like this. I think this is my favorite of the Renoirs we've watched and the Renoirs I've seen. And I just talked about last week how I really like these war comedies. And this isn't a comedy per se, but it's just quite light.
And bubbly, almost, yeah.
Yeah, but it could be an example. Yeah, I think this movie rules. There's a lot to it. And more than any of the other Renoirs, I did connect with it. But it's such a tricky thing because I love that nothing is really high stakes. I love that they're on a first name basis with their guard, Arthur, who they just I don't know. I love the vaudeville guy so much. The little dinners they have, with all those things that Rosenthal gets sent to him. It's just kind of a delightful hangout movie.
Yeah, yeah.
But with this universal message of peace, and I don't know. I really liked it. I thought immediately of Grand Budapest especially when they're eating the stuff that Rosenthal gets sent to him. Because remember in Grand Budapest he has the one pastry that he splits with all his friends,
right? And
then they're of course digging a tunnel.
Oh, right. Yeah. This has to be, a touchstone.
And let's not forget Paddington 2, which was influenced by Grand Budapest.
Also, another little influence that had to have been was Goodfellas in terms of
the dinner.
how well they're eating inside and the detail on what they're eating and all that stuff. In this movie, it's foie gras and mackerel and stuff.
Yeah. And even when the stakes are higher during that escape, there's that silly flute that just turns it all into a game, you know?
Right.
And I like that about it. But that's the thing, okay, you have Life is Beautiful, right? And that's a quote comedy, but is actually really sad. Same with Jojo Rabbit. Again, quote comedy, but actually devastating.
I didn't see Jojo Rabbit.
But this movie, you didn't see it?
No.
But this movie, it's so weird because it stays pretty removed from emotions. And it's not even labeled a comedy, but it's the lightest of those two war comedies.
Yeah, it's not. It's not quite a comedy, and it's just removed. It's just light.
I think the emotion is just removed. Even at the end when he's in love with the lady from L'Atelier, whose name is escaping me, Dita Parlow.
Yep.
He goes. Rosenthal asks him "Oh, are you in love with her?" And he goes, "I think so. I guess I'll come back after the war." It's not. Nothing, no one is really too involved.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I love even when they say goodbye to each other and they're oh, I'll see you later. But they're happy, you know?
Yeah.
Even though they might be killed. And I just love the way it's shot. I love those long pans. I love the push-ins, the push-out. I think it's really beautifully shot.
Mm-hmm. In a non-showy way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So those are my initial thoughts.
Cool.
The first thing I'm going to ask you... So, let's talk about this whole humanist approach, right? Is it too nice? I know we talked a lot about how nice this movie is. Is it too nice?
It's a good question. I don't think so.
Like you said, you wanted that button of empty chairs and empty tables.
Because it just would have added like a nice counterbalance, I think.
I agree.
Like a little sting at the end.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it too nice? I don't know.
Like, he's sending a very clear message of like, we're all human and war is stupid. And I really love how quickly it turns to the other side, because you start with the French guys and then very quickly, like within the first 5 minutes, I think, like you're in the bar, the German bar. And I like how it's matched. It's both they're two bars, you know, and he even does a similar like a camera move to match. It lands on the ad in both bars. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
I loved that.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool. But no, I mean, it is something to consider. Is this movie too nice?
I mean, this is pre-World War II. It would have been reframed, I think, had it been made after World War II.
Yeah.
But it's almost like disarming how nice
the German guy cuts his meat for him.
Yeah.
He gets some meat.
Yeah.
And then what was that wreath thing? Speaking of that scene, you know how they're
the clock?
No, the wreath. They come in with like a wreath, and
von
Stroheim is like, "Oh, I'm so sorry you had to see that." Like, what? That went over my head.
I thought it was like for them, like an apology for shooting them down, or like a welcome.
But they seem really shocked. I love that. That's one of my favorite tricks. Is like when a character's like looking at something off screen and you don't know what it is, but you're like seeing them react. And then it was this wreath, and I was like, "What is that?"
It's from
Not a welcome.
It's from Bed Bath and Beyond.
I think it was like a wreath for another French person they killed or something, like
for the funeral.
It was awkward. Yeah. So it was like awkward for them to see. I don't know.
Yeah, it's very posh. They're very posh from the second like they shoot them down.
Yeah.
Because he's like, invite them in.
Yeah.
Like,
you know what they say? They say, may the earth lie lightly on our valiant enemy. So like, I guess it is farce really in a way. Like,
yeah, it's like a very, very subtle farce. Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. It's farce. I wonder if something can be a farce without being like an outright comedy.
Right. Which is what this is.
Yeah. Actually, like tonally, I don't know much that kind of is in the same ballpark as this.
I know.
Because you're right. It has this, the removed stuff almost of like of a comedy, but it's not funny.
Yeah.
Like, and
it's
it
just
does,
nice.
and it doesn't push it to extremes too. So
exactly.
Yeah, no, it's
I
interesting.
love when they go to the first camp and the rich French guy is like being searched and he gets mad and the German that's searching him is like, "This is war," and he goes, "I perfectly agree, but conduct it cordially."
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Or no, he says courteously.
I like too when the main guy gets thrown in like the hole. It's just like,
yeah,
it's still like there's a bed and there's still like
I know. And then like the German comes in and is like, "Why are you not eating? Like it's okay." And he like sits down with him,
gives him a harmonica,
yeah,
like, cigarettes, yeah. Yeah. It caught me off guard. Like the first 30 minutes of this movie tonally caught me off guard until I like settled in and realized what it was doing.
It's super unique.
I think it all leads to, I think the scene when the von Stroheim character shoots, what's the character's name?
De Boldu.
So when he gets shot by him and he's in the bed and he's dying, that scene is the film for me. And von Stroheim coming up to him and being like, "I'm sorry. I'm really sorry I had to shoot you. I was aiming for your legs." And the French guy's like, No, I'm sure you were trying to shoot my legs, but it was a long distance and I was far, I was running.
But that scene holds a lot of,
And von Stroheim's like, "Don't make excuses for me. Like, I meant to shoot your legs." And like them both talking about like the French guy's like, "Oh, well, now this is how I get out of this is by dying." And
right.
It's a beautiful scene, really, really beautiful, of von Stroheim just like, "Look, I'm a disabled officer who's following orders, but like I respect that you're a person too, and like I don't want to have to do this." His hesitance too when he shoots him, like he really doesn't want to, and when he finally does pull the gun, you just see that beauty. The way he acts it too is like, it goes up and like he doesn't want to point it at him and he gives him like another second, then finally the gun comes down, and even before he pulls the trigger he gives him like another second. Also, that guy barely seems bothered that he's about to get shot too. He
doesn't. So, well, here's the thing, their relationship is very much about like class, right? They're both aristocrats, and that's why he cares about him so much.
I think Renoir is no stranger to this topic.
I know, right? So I mean, it's really complicated because I think that the main French guy, de Boldu, like, And he even says, like, I'm not doing this for you. What I was reading when I read about this movie, like, it is very much about how this world of aristocrats is dying, and that's why they like kind of stick together, these two. But then this is his way out of this world. Like, he recognizes the world is changing, and this is like his way out instead of like having to adapt. He's like, no, I'm gonna wear my white gloves and I'm gonna die like this.
Right. Because, yeah, you see, I feel like we bring this show up too often, but Downton Abbey.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It's all about that it's all about that class just kind of like fizzling out over the course of the show.
Right.
I don't think this is a spoiler if you haven't seen it, but like they lose staff. It becomes a smaller place.
Yeah.
Like, all the service people get dwindled down because times change.
It's really sad to say, but the show before is better than it. Well, season 3, but then some things happen in season 3 that aren't related to the war. Anyway, no, but let's talk about the camp a little bit, because I do want to talk more about like
that's what. Oh, sorry,
stuff.
really quickly too, just to touch on that. That's what Remains of the Day is all about. It's like the last couple service people hanging on in like the 1940s.
I love that.
Yeah. Anyway,
I love that.
Yeah, it's really good if you haven't seen it.
But the camp itself, I love how like. Do you remember when the actual German soldiers are training?
With the first camp or the second camp?
The first one. And civilians are walking by and they're like, oh, poor boys.
Yeah,
but they're just like the ones training. Meanwhile, the prisoners are just like having fun and putting on a vaudeville show.
They literally tell them, enjoy. Like when they usher the prisoners into their room, like, enjoy yourselves.
And it's so funny. They say out there, the children play soldiers, and here the soldiers play like children. That theater scene, that pan of
great.
Everyone just like trying on costumes, rehearsing. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And I love that vaudeville roommate they have. But he's actually from Rules of the Game.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's the guy that has an affair with one of the maids. I think he's also, I don't know what he works. Well, I was going to say what department he's in. But he's also like on the staff. Do you remember him?
Yeah, I remember. But I have to wonder too in this film, like, I'm not a huge history buff, so I don't know the answer to this, but I would assume that some of this stuff is complete. It's fantasy.
Oh,
like,
it has
this
to
did
be.
not happen.
I looked it up. There was definitely like forced labor in these POW
They're not putting
camps.
on
They're
vaudeville
not
shows.
Yeah.
Where they're cross-dressing too.
They're
which again, for the 19
cross-dressing.
teens,
Yeah.
would have been frowned upon.
Totally. And it's really brave of him to make a movie where the Germans are nice at this time. Like, yeah, World War II hadn't started yet, but it was like just on the verge.
Yeah, Hitler was rising to power.
Yeah. It's so brave of him, to make these POW camps that are just like stupid little hangouts for the sake of keeping up the image of war.
Yeah, and then,
or the illusion.
And then in 39, I believe 39 was Rules of the Game, and we talked about our episode for that.
Yeah,
they lost some of the crew members when the war started.
Yeah. So it's like, the Grand Illusion is nations, and the whole like lax condition of the camp is just an example that like nations don't matter, or like human borders don't matter. But it's just so brave of him to do it right before the war.
Mm-hmm.
I love the geranium plant that von Stroheim has. What?
Nothing.
I sense we'll be returning to this plant. But no, so there's like that illusion, right? And then there's also this illusion of like class and race, which is more interesting, more complex, because it's not as cut and dry as like war is bad. All humans are like, everyone is human, you know? It's more complicated because like we talked about de Bourdieu and the von Stroheim character and their monocles. Notice how they both have monocles? I mean, the Monopoly man, but and then you have Rosenthal, who's this like new money Jewish banker, but he's super generous and shares his meals with everyone. And it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the like there's a vaudevillian, there's a teacher. The main guy, Marshall, is like a engineer, I think. No, he was a mechanic. And it's just interesting that he feels closer to Rosenthal than his own. Well, I mean, they're all French, but like he feels closer to Rosenthal, even though Rosenthal's probably richer than de Bourdieu.
Mm-hmm.
De Bourdieu is just like old money, aristocrat, classic gentleman. And we talked about how like why de Boldu sacrifices himself. But you know what's interesting, actually? I found this out while I was reading about it. There's kind of a translation. So the scene where Marshall and de Boldu are like talking about what's going to happen, and he's washing his gloves.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes like, oh, we have nothing in common, actually. So there's something about like, he says, we've been together 18 months. Why do you always have to stand on, like, what does he say? Basically, he says like, oh, Sarah, he says, why we've known each other 18 months. Like, why do you always have to like stand on ceremony? But what he's actually saying is, why do you use vous instead of tu? So like vous is the formal way of saying you, and tu is the familiar. And he goes, I use vous with my mom and my wife. That's what de Boldu says. And that's when he's like, wow, like we have nothing in common.
Oh.
Which is so much better than the translation in the Criterion version that I watched.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things too. Oh, it's important to note that this is Criterion Spine number 1.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Really?
Number 1.
Wow.
But I do know it's not on Blu-ray, and I also watched it on the channel, and you can tell it's kind of an older print. And so I'm assuming that at some point Criterion will go back and remaster it, and I'm sure they usually redo the subtitles when they do that. So yeah, I could they felt a little clunky overall. Not speaking much French myself, or if any. But like, yeah, the subtitles you could tell were like a little clunky.
But that's a really nice like
that kind
piece of dialogue.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That elevates it.
But then, of course, there's the black soldier who they all ignore. So it's like, yeah, like they don't pay him any attention. He comes, he's like painted something. No one gives a shit. And it's very intentional. Like you can't brush that off. Like when I saw that, I was like, oh shit, like he's going there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so now there's like this new illusion. It's like they think that they're all like together and nice, but actually even the main characters are like kind of racist.
Right.
Which makes it so much more interesting.
Yeah, that's another layer.
Yeah, like they think they've beat their own racism and classism because, oh, they love Rosenthal, at least like Marshall. But then he's a dick to the black guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was really, really interesting. Let's talk about Elsa. I love that scene. I love the Christmas. I love that doorway shot.
The door. Oh yeah. Doorway.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. No, I love that too. It's and again, it kind of uses like the cinematic shorthand because they arrive and they immediately like they don't know her intentions. Mm-hmm. She doesn't know theirs, and then the Germans show up, and then it cuts, and you've jumped months into the future, probably.
Yeah,
I'm assuming. And yeah, and they're just all familiar, and it's one big like happy family.
Cute.
But it works well in the way that you can jump forward in time sometimes and feel like you've been there with her for like a good chunk of the film. But in reality, it's probably like 15, 20 minutes, maybe 15.
Yeah,
if even. Yeah. So I love all that stuff too.
I love it, and I love how even she's like, yeah, war's really stupid. Look at my husband who died and my brothers who died, all in battles that we won.
Yeah.
And it's like the irony of that.
So do you think, not knowing about that empty chairs, empty tables ending, does he come back for her after the war?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I think that was just like a very French thing of him to do.
Yeah, I think so too.
Return.
I don't think they genuinely seem in love. I think they just kind of like, we're both there and,
We're both there.
We're feeling
and
feelings.
Lonely, yeah. No, totally. Let's talk about like these pans a little bit. So I like the way that it's super fluid, and I love when it like moves in on a character or a setting, and it's like it works on emotion, humor, irony. Like it's doing a lot of the heavy lifting. I think that the camera work. The prisoners, when they first get to the camp and you see like everyone's face, that's a classic. I love, like I said, that theater one is so great.
Yeah.
And even I love when they have the one guy dress up as a woman, and then it's quiet. It's like the only pan that's silent, and you just see everyone's face.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I loved that one.
I think Renoir often gets credit, like rightfully so, as such an innovator of the moving camera.
Yeah.
And he does it subtly.
He
does it subtly, but it is kind of always moving, and it's panning and it's pushing in and pulling back.
Yeah. Like when when he comes back from the hole, and it's the hole, like the
Right.
what's it called? Solitary confinement.
Yeah.
And it's a close on him, and then it like pulls out. I don't know, it just works.
Yeah.
And then there's another really good one where, first of all, when that vaudevillian guy is singing, and it's like going in and out, and then finally like you see the Germans on the side. That one's really, really good too.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they have the French national anthem. They did it before Casablanca.
Yeah.
And that's a really good pan, too. That one's really long. Well, there's another one, but I might say it. Actually, no. I'll save it. There's also, it's not a pan, but just the amazing shot of that guy performing from behind. It's like been imitated, or I don't know who was the first to do it, but I feel like I've seen that shot so much. And I wonder if this was like, it must have been like one of the early iterations of it.
Maybe.
You know what I'm talking about? Him from behind, and you can see everyone looking at him. Yeah.
The cabaret shot or something.
Exactly. It's like
Maybe
Cabaret
this
or
time.
Chicago. Yeah.
How dare you? How
What?
dare you? How dare you bring up a Rob Marshall movie in a conversation about Renoir? Honestly,
I'm
Jackie.
just saying. It reminds me of Mr. Cellophane.
That's fine. That's fine.
You know what else I actually really loved?
Or
Another good one?
opening night, Jenna Rollins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, what were we going to say?
I loved when it's Christmas and they wake up Lottie, and they're leading her into the room with
Baby
the nativity
Jesus has
scene.
come.
Yeah, I love when Rosenthal is like my ancestor.
Yeah.
So good. But there's it's following her moving into the room, and it loses focus for like a good few seconds, but it's so beautiful.
Yeah, like I'm sure it was probably a mistake.
I know,
but it
I
adds,
know.
but it adds to it.
But
yeah.
I still loved it. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, like, I don't know. There was a very definite charm about it losing focus. It's so funny. Like, we're all so concerned about focus pulling and everything. And then something about this mistake in this movie I just love.
Yeah.
know.
I noticed that too. It added a nice little, because things like that little mistakes make it feel more real, more authentic.
Yeah. I think
There's
it's beautiful.
There's that story in Punch Drunk Love, not to always bring up PTA, but there's a scene where it's like a handheld camera, and it's the scene where Adam Sandler's calling like the phone sex hotline, and he's like sitting on his couch. And there's a scene like when they were first filming it, the camera operator accidentally bumped like the Steadicam, so it had this huge swipe. And then Paul's like, just do that every take. So literally from each take on, they just like hit the camera, and it would like.
So funny.
But yeah, there's about those imperfections in a film.
I love them.
Yeah.
Should we do Sight and Sound?
Yeah, this is a film like I strangely don't have like a lot to say about it. I enjoyed
It's very layered.
It's very layered, and I enjoyed my time with it. And would watch again. But I just like don't have a lot on my mind. I don't know. Yeah. You want to do Sight and Sound? Is there anything we're missing?
I think we should talk about von Stroheim a little.
Oh yeah. So we did set him up in our episode on Greed, but interesting figure because he was started off as a filmmaker. He was a director and did Greed. If you haven't heard our Greed episode, Jackie will tell you otherwise, but I think the movie is absolutely worth a watch. Even if it is like 4 hours long. Right?
4 hours of
Was it 4 hours?
still photos.
No, it's only like half still photos.
Oh my God. It's more than half.
Well, it's because they were missing the footage, so it's like a recreation. Anyway.
It's not a movie.
So his directorial career was tragic because that stuff, again, Greed was this, for people who did see it in its original like 8-hour form, or like, this is the greatest film ever made. Again, these are people saying this in like 1924 or whatever. But yeah, it was sadly butchered and lost. And so what we have is what we have. And I think, I'm not quite sure the other films that he made, but I think they had like suffered a similar fate in terms of like stuff was taken away or recut or whatever. So he was Orson Welles before Orson Welles.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Orson Welles.
Yeah. Orson Welles, when asked like what movies he would take on the arc if he had to, Grand Illusion was.
Was it Grand Illusion and Stagecoach? Was Stagecoach the other one?
No. I just know Grand Illusion was one of them.
Yeah, I think the other one might be Stagecoach. I could be wrong. I know he loves that movie. But yeah, so Erich von Stroheim again then turned to acting and is most famous for his role in Sunset Boulevard as her chauffeur, as her valet. Or he's a housekeeper.
Who was a director.
He was a director.
In the movie.
That's very meta. I love that. But yeah, again, another famous role of his is in this
Yeah.
movie. And
His eyes are so dark. Like he has really dark under eyes. And it works so well.
well, it's funny because he has the face of a villain.
Totally.
And not in Sunset Boulevard, if you haven't seen it, we're not going to spoil it, but
he's creepy.
He's mysterious and creepy.
Yeah.
And in this movie, he's like genuinely good natured.
I know.
And interesting bit of casting too, especially because he has the monocle and then he's burned all over, which is why he wears these gloves and stuff.
That brace.
And he has this brace that like holds his. So he's almost like Batman before Batman could turn his head.
Yeah.
Like there's that hilarious scene where he goes to take a shot when whatever his name is dying, and he has to move his whole body as he takes the shot because he cannot turn his head independently from his body. But it adds that like, it adds a almost mechanical quality to him.
Yeah.
Like I almost think of like the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz or something,
Totally.
or like RoboCop. Like
Yeah.
there's that he just can't move.
Yeah. Because he's a stiff aristocrat.
Yeah. I guess.
Yeah, he's good natured, but he's also kind of a dick. Like, I feel
Barely.
Huh?
Barely.
I mean, he's pretty like open about his dislike of like Rosenthal and
That's true.
the poor.
I feel like as far as German officers that are running POW camps go, like he's the fairy tale.
He's the
fairy
man.
godmother. Yeah. Like, he might as well be singing Bibbidi Boppity Boo.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
I feel like even then too, when they finally escape from his castle, he barely he sends like the dogs and stuff after him, but we never see any progress that's made on that front. Like they escape and then they're just gone.
They're gone, but their biggest danger is like, the cold, and Rosenthal hurts his leg. And they fight. I love that fight they have, that argument they have, like against the Swiss Alps.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I love that scene.
Yeah.
And then I love when they reunite like right after, but I do love it.
Yeah. No, I like that the film shifts gears in that moment, because then you do get this like a little stretch of like a survival story about these two men who are fed up with each other, and Rosenthal's like on crutches or whatever. And
I love Rosenthal.
Yeah. Do you even see them like sleeping next to each other, like hunkered down and like starving, and like talk about him eating his buttons off of his coat? Like, wait, you guys could find some like leaves and berries.
Literally. And they're eating sugar cubes.
I mean, I get that.
This reminds me of like we talked about how in Colonel Blimp is like a war movie with zero war. This is like another classic example, I feel like.
Yeah. Or Paths of Glory.
Yes. Path of Glory has one battle though.
That's true. Yeah. No, interesting. Yeah, because when we did Apocalypse Now, we brought up how Coppola kind of regretted, like he intended for that to be an anti-war film, but he's like, can you really be anti-war if you're like showing it in these sort of glorious compositions, which that film does.
Yeah.
And this is an anti-war film that does not show any action.
Yeah. Which I love.
There's another one too. Yeah, Colonel Blimp, and there was another film I don't think we did for the podcast, but it's like, Come and See. Come and See. Oh my God. Come and See.
But Come and See has like guns and stuff. Like
there's no traditional like battle scenes in that or anything. It's all about what's happening on the fringes with like the villages and Belarus and stuff like that. If you have not seen I'm talking to our listeners. Obviously, I'm sure you've heard of Come and See, but if you have not seen Come and See, dear God, what a film. Also, its companion film, The Ascent, Larissa Shepitko's film, who was married to Klimov, who did Come and See. So this husband and wife team each made these
their
own
own version of it.
Yeah, that's their own version of the films. Both films incredible. The Ascent is nearly as incredible as Come and See.
Wow.
But both just like searing, important, incredible films. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did we get on this topic? Oh, anti-war films.
Anti-war. Well, it started with von Stroheim's eyes.
Right.
And then we ended up here. You know, he lied. I don't know if I mentioned this during our Greed episode, but when he came to America, he lied and said he was an aristocrat. He made up his last name.
Yeah, I think you did mention that in the episode. Yeah.
And like he's playing an aristocrat in this, which is iconic.
He was in reality nothing but a pauper.
Exactly. Pretending to be a prince.
Do you want to do sight and sound?
Yeah.
What's your favorite sight?
I think we have the same one. It is the reveal of Rothenstein's room in the church.
Yes.
What a shot. Like, so complex, so many moving parts. That flower, the flower. I love his stuff laid out. You could see his like belts and everything, his book, like whatever book he's reading, a picture frame. And then it lands on him actually in the scene drinking coffee. And he's been there the whole time and you didn't know. I think that's my favorite shot.
I actually have a different one. It's later after they escape and after he's already shot whatever his name is.
Boldu?
Yeah. And he clips like the flower off of the thing because it's snowing outside. It's snowing right outside his window and he approaches and he just talked about this geranium being the only living thing in the castle. And he goes up and clips it probably for a funeral service or something. Or maybe he's just going to put it behind his ear as like a little aloha flavor. But
oh my God.
Yeah.
Do you think they were in love?
Oh. Wow. Maybe.
I don't.
You don't think so?
I just threw that out there. No, I think it's very much he's making this statement of like, look at these aristocrats and look at these poor people.
It could have been.
I mean, yeah.
That would have
in
spiced
theory,
it up a little.
That would. What about sound?
My favorite sound is in the beginning when you were introduced to him, the Erich von Stroheim character, and he's just shot them down.
Yeah.
And he comes in, and on a gramophone nearby, you hear a Strauss piece. It's Kunsterleben, which is from Opus 316. But it's a famous piece, but I just love it. And I love you can kind of hear it in the background. It just sets the scene for when you first meet him. Here's a clip.
Musik! Zum Wohl, Erich von. Glückwunsch! Rosenmeier! Vorsicht! Weiter! Sie müssen an Ihre famosen Bohlen ansetzen. Das ist mein Zweck. Das muss doch anständig begossen werden, nicht wahr? Sehr gerne, Herr Rittmeister. Also, 3 Murgel, ein Wein, ein Martell, 2 Flaschen Sekt, 2 Flaschen Selter, 2 Selter, 2 Flaschen Ananas.
Nice.
I love Strauss. I'm a big Strauss boy.
Wow. I love that for you.
Yeah. I love a good waltz. Who doesn't love a good waltz?
Have you ever waltzed?
Honestly,
have you
sadly,
danced?
no. I have never like properly waltzed.
You should take a waltz.
You know
class.
what? That's a good idea.
You would love it.
That's a great idea. When I was a kid, this is so embarrassing. I don't know how, okay, I'm just going to go for it. When I was a kid, I was in like 6th or 7th grade and I was in a play. I forget which one this was. I think it was A Midsummer Night's Dream, but there was a girl in the play with me. I was playing Puck. I think she was playing, Hermes?
I don't remember.
I forget the character's name, but I had a big crush on her. And I used to just like, I would go home and I would like put on like the Strauss waltzes because my mom had like a best of Strauss like waltz CD, and I'd put it on and I would fantasize about like being in like the 18th or 19th century with her like waltzing like by candlelight, like in this grand ballroom. Never even told her I liked her. That's
How old were you?
It was like 6th or 7th grade.
Who fantasizes about that in 6th or 7th grade?
Me.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
She'll never know. Maybe I'll tell her when I'm like 60.
Maybe she's listening.
No, she doesn't know who she is. I'm not gonna give any clues.
Well,
but,
if she was in Midsummer Night's Dream with you, she's gonna know.
Well, there was a handful of people in that production.
No, I'm pretty sure if she's listening, she knows. I hate to break it to you.
I'm sure she's not listening.
That is so funny. Like Beauty and the Beast. Like you want her to like come down the stairs and like.
No, well, we weren't
waltz.
alone. It was almost like the balls in the War and Peace film, like the 4-part War and Peace film of like these huge grand balls with all these people, like cavernous
so romantic.
ballrooms with huge chandeliers.
I love it.
And that was my fantasy.
Yeah. It's better when other people are around because then you have a secret, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think
Do you know what
if
I mean?
it's just
I'm getting really
if
like,
it's just the two of
if
you
it's
waltzing,
just Beauty and the Beast, yeah. If
it's
you
a
guys
little
are
weird.
the only exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You want more people.
Because you want to hide how crazy you are about the other person from the other people around.
Yeah.
Like in War and Peace.
Yeah. And I think too, like people are looking at you, you're looking at other people. There's just the electricity in the air.
This is so funny.
I'm sure everyone just smells like candles. And
I love that fantasy of yours.
Yeah.
You should take a waltzing class.
yeah.
You and Molly, how cute.
Yeah. Honestly, I would love to learn how to waltz. I've like square danced, and I've done no, not square dancing, line dancing.
Okay, that's
But like
even worse.
no, like 18th century line dancing.
Oh,
Yeah, I've done that. But
18th century line dancing.
yeah, maybe 19th century.
Are you? I was gonna say maybe 19th century.
I'm sure they were still doing it in the 18th, but let's say 19th century. Yeah, but no, we've done that. That's fun. But like no waltzing.
Is
no.
your dream to like be in like a white tuxedo and like bow to the girl before you take her arm or offer your arm?
I'm like, I love being comfortable, and like, so my standard thing is like shorts and a t-shirt or something, which I'm in literally right now, and it's like 40 degrees outside, but like that stuff is uncomfortable, but like, sure, I love the look of it. You know? Like I love getting dressed up, but I also hate getting dressed up. It's a love-hate thing because it's uncomfortable. And then when you get home, like you cannot wait to take it off.
But you rarely do it. So I think you can make an exception for the ball. Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about. Every film I go to, I dress up in a tux.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's
what's your favorite sound?
Not as fun. My favorite sound is when Ruffenstein is about to shoot de Boldu and they speak English to each other. And I was trying to figure out like why are they randomly cutting into English? And then I read somewhere it's like, oh, because they're aristocrats, they speak all these languages, and that's like one language they know no one else can understand around them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he says like, don't be stupid. And then de Boldu says, or no, Ruffenstein offers to him like, come down and I'll forget about all this. And then de Boldu says this.
It's damn nice of you, Rauffenstein. But it's impossible.
Nice.
I don't know, it's just a classic line. And I like that it was in English. I don't know. It was just so unexpected. And the fact that he says, like, damn nice of you. And I just liked it.
Yeah, it's nice. A nice little line.
Letterboxd.
Pauline.
Oh, I forgot.
Let's not jump the gun here.
I'm sorry.
How could you forget about Pauline,
She
Jackie?
probably loves this movie.
Okay, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Pauline Kael. Review from 1961. In form, La Grande Illusion is an escape story, yet who would think of it this way? It's like saying Oedipus Rex is a detective story. The great work transcends the usual categories. La Grande Illusion is a perceptive study of human needs and the subtle barriers of class among a group of prisoners and their captors during World War I. In cinema, there's the artistry that brings the medium alive with self-conscious excitement, like Eisenstein's Potemkin or Orson Welles' Citizen Kane. And there's the artistry that makes the medium disappear, like Grand Illusion or De Sica's Shoe Shine. La Grande Illusion is a triumph of clarity and lucidity. Every detail fits simply, easily, and intelligibly. There is no unnecessary camera virtuosity. The compositions seem to emerge from the material. It's as if beauty just happens. Mm-hmm. Is it necessary to state that this unobtrusive artistry is perhaps the most difficult to achieve? The characters, the dialogue, the fortress, the farm, the landscape, all fuse into the story and the theme. The result is the greatest achievement in narrative film.
What?
It's a little embarrassing to state this so baldly, but La Grande Illusion, like Renoir's earlier but very different Partie de Campagne, which is also Day in the Country, is just about a perfect work. In fact, I can't find a flaw in it.
Wow.
There was no reason for Renoir to tap this vein again. His next great work was the tragic comic Carnal Chase, Rules of the Game, which accelerates in intensity until it becomes a macabre fantasy. So
Wow.
Pauline literally saying it is just about a perfect work, but she's also saying that about Day in the Country. How do you feel about that, Jackie, who doesn't even think it's a real movie?
I mean, it's not.
I don't think Day in the Country is perfect, but I like that's the one for me. And you know why?
I think this one's the one for me.
I think because of the narrative simplicity of Day in the Country. Although, I mean, all three of his films.
This is super simple.
Yeah, this is simple, and actually Rules of the Game is pretty
Rules of the
simple
Game
too.
is the most complex. It has the most characters,
yeah.
most plot lines.
It's more of an ensemble thing, but no, this is simple.
This is simple.
But I think because Day in the Country is so laser focused into this very specific like afternoon.
Yeah.
I like his storytelling when it kind of like unfolds almost in like real time.
Yeah.
But no, this is still great. And Pauline,
said it was the best narrative film.
The result is the greatest achievement in narrative film. That's what she said. That's a quote from Pauline. But again, she said this in 1961.
But still.
So, this is pre...
there were great movies before 1961.
This is pre-Baby's Day Out, pre the Flintstones film, Viva Rock Vegas. So who knows? She might have changed her mind later.
I wouldn't bet on it.
You know what? I bet by the time that Pauline retired, I don't know that she would still agree with that statement.
No, I don't think so. Because she's obsessed with Nashville.
She's obsessed with Nashville, yeah. Now it's Letterboxd time.
Yay.
Okay. I've got a full 5-star review here. And it's mostly for this first sentence. A warm fireplace of a movie.
Oh.
And unusually for a movie like this, its influences stretches farther than you might think. I see its DNA in much less serious movies like The Great Escape and whatnot, just as one example. I just love the sentence, a warm fireplace of a movie.
That's very you.
I know. Did I write that?
2 stars. Orson Welles said this is one of 2 movies he would take with him on the Ark. But the guy also never saw Ratatouille.
I saw that. Got a 2-star review here. I suspect legendary filmmaker Jean Renoir never expected his shitty movie to get flamed by a 22-year-old college student on this app, nor did he ever live to see the day of smartphone applications. But nevertheless, I didn't care for your movie. It was really boring, and I wish I never watched it. Suck it, Jean.
Oh my God. 5 stars. The woman who sat next to me at the screening of this reminded me of why I love cinema. She was smiling from the moment the credits started and didn't stop until the end of the movie. And oh man, it was the cutest thing ever. The man on the other side of me beat his hand on his chest in time with each song and was also the cutest thing ever. Goes on, but I just thought that was very sweet. It reminded me of our Titanic experience.
It reminded me of being in like film classes, like because they'd show us in like a movie theater, and like when I saw like 400 Blows or whatever, like just that you would just be smiling from the beginning till the end, and it's like such a special experience.
Yeah.
I have a 1-star review here. It's my last one. As far as illusion movies go, I prefer Now You See Me.
This is my last one too. No stars, but it says, my favorite World War I film with a drag routine in the middle of it. So far.
I don't know that that's the only one. I don't think that it is, actually.
Name another one.
I think, I haven't seen it, but I think the Visconti film, The Damned, I think does.
Really?
I could be wrong. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah. Anyway, this was Grand Illusion. This was our
Great
third,
movie.
probably final Jean
I
Renoir.
think so too.
Certainly on the list. I can't even name another Renoir film.
Me neither.
Yeah. That's bad.
I feel like Jean Renoir, like I like his movies, but something about him is not like really
That's how I feel
like,
about this film.
hitting me.
No, I know. That's
I
how
don't know what it. Maybe it's the language barrier.
No. No. I'm gonna nix that.
But they're very like dialogue based, like what I just said. That whole like translation mishap, subtitle mishap. I don't know.
Yeah.
Visually,
No.
I mean, yeah, they're really great, but they don't feel that like incredible to me. Like there's some moments in this that were very, very cool. I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on it.
I more or less agree with you. I do think, like, obviously they're so formative because this film for 1937 is pretty
incredible.
crazy. Yeah. Again, this is just like 7 years into the sound era.
That's crazy.
So on that front, yes. But I do agree with you. Like, I've never been kept up at night thinking about Renoir.
Yeah.
And I have about lots of other filmmakers, even from this time.
Yeah.
And I appreciate his films. Like, I've liked each of them.
Me too.
But I just, like, the love isn't completely there. And I don't quite know why.
I know.
It's like an intangible thing.
I know. It's really weird.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because like we don't recognize these they're not like, it's one thing if you're watching like an old movie and then you see like an actor you've seen a million times before.
Well, I knew von Stroheim, but it's
well, yeah.
and Jean
Stroheim.
Gabon too.
Yes. I don't know.
I don't even think it's that, because I fall head over heels for movies all the time where I don't know the cast. But it's just like this
That's true.
indescribable thing.
I know, it's weird. What are we doing next week?
Next week, this is a big one, Jackie. This is our second Kurosawa. It's right up there with Seven Samurai. This is Rashomon, which is a completely different film from Seven Samurai, but almost more famous. Which one would you say is more famous?
Seven Samurai.
You think so?
Yeah.
I feel like when you take an intro to film class, the very first film on the syllabus is Rashomon.
Really?
I feel like Rashomon is taught more frequently in film school than Seven Samurai.
Oh, I wouldn't know.
Maybe they're tied.
I
don't know.
Film school.
Right. Well, I dropped out, so yeah, no, this is it's a big deal. Have you seen this?
I've never seen it.
You've never seen Rashomon?
No.
Oh
I
my
didn't go to film
god.
school.
Oh, Jackie, it's good. And it's like 90 minutes too.
Nice.
It's nice and short. There's a lot of good rain in here. A lot of good rain.
Love me some
Woo.
rain.
What do the kids say these days? Sheesh.
I've never heard a child say that.
Wait, you don't know about that?
No.
Sheesh?
Are
It's
you
a thing.
fucking with me?
Jackie, I swear to God. Wait, you have not heard that?
Sheesh? What's sheesh?
Okay, that's like the trend. Kids going, sheesh.
I'm never around children. I don't know.
Well, like Gen Z.
Oh. The news to me. I don't know.
Oh.
Wow.
You're officially old now,
I
Jackie.
know.
Does it feel good, though?
A little bit.
Yeah, sheesh. It's been that way for like a year or two. Sheesh.
How have I never heard this? Maybe it's because I'm not on TikTok.
Yeah, I think it's on TikTok a lot. I've heard people say it in real life, too. Anyway, come back next week.
Come waltz with us next week.
Well, there's no waltzing in that one. But in the meantime, you can waltz to some Strauss. So yeah, come back for Rashomon. It's going to be a great episode. Until then, I'm Greg.
I'm Jackie.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Seen and Heard is an official podcast of the Arroyo Film Club, featuring Greg Kleinschmidt and Jacqueline Postagian. Theme music by Andrew Cox. If you like what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. If you have any questions, comments, or you just want to say hi, email us hello@seenandheardpod.com or visit our website, www.seenandheardpod.com.